जय शिशि गुरु गौरांग कंदार विकगिरिधारी शिशि राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरन मोहन जू की जय। नित्यालल विष्णु विष्णुपार अशुतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज शिल गुरुदेव की जय। नित्यालल विष्णु विष्णुपार अशुतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार अशुतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्यालल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार अशुतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार अशुतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्यालल प्रविष्ट महाभगवत शिल गौरकिशोर बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्यालल प्रविष्ट शुद्ध सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्यालल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानुगौर्य गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विरत गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय. Is today anything special? Just opening up my calendar. No. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Shri Jaiva-dharma ki Jai. Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Okay, let's begin. Sorry. ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। श्रीसिद्धान्तसरस्वतीति विदितो गौडीयगौर्वन्वये भातो भानुरिव प्रभातगगने योगोरसङ्कीर्तनाय मायावारतिमिङ्गिलोदरगतान् उद्धृत्य जीवनिमान् कृष्णप्रेमसुधाब्धिगाहनसुखां प्रादात् प्रभुं तं भजे। वन्दे भक्तिविनोदं श्री गौरशक्तिस्वरूपकं भक्तिशास्त्रज्ञसम्राजं राधारससुधानिधिं। नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगपरायते श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितां येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। वृषभानुसुतान्वितवामतनुं यमुनातटनागरनन्दसुतं मुरलीकलगीतविनोरपरं भज गोद्रुमकलरक्षं kanana kunja vidum smara gaura gadadara kelikalam bhava gaura gadadara pakshachara shrinu gaura gadadara charukatang bhajagodruma kanana kunja vidum Tvaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya devi tvang nayamang charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshai kshiptascha kama ditaranga madhye kripa mai tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanaravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Pradumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Ganga Mataji, Vidyalala Sadidi. I don't know who else is there. Maybe Indira Mataji. And if you write a comment, I'll see your name. But Dandavat Pranams. So yesterday we completed chapter, what was it? Chapter, I forgot actually. I think it was chapter 16. And yeah, it was chapter 16. And today we will be of Jaiva-dharma. And today we will begin chapter 17, which is about how the liberated jivas are they are free from Maya. Hare Krishna Nitai Mukeshji. But before we begin, let's go over the verses of Daśa-mūla, and we'll also look at a summary of the chapter that we just read yesterday. So let's begin.
Prabhu, excuse me. Sorry,
yes.
Are you transmitted it on YouTube?
Yes, it's on YouTube right now, yeah.
Oh, because it's stuck in 12. This is Daśa-mūla.
Oh, that's strange. Did I share the wrong link, maybe? I'm just looking in the WhatsApp. Let me just see it. Maybe I shared the wrong link in the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
No, I think I shared the right link.
Yeah. Is that still on, excuse me, it's on the Daśa-mūla?
Yeah.
And it says 2 hours, it was streamed 2 hours ago. That doesn't make any sense.
Huh. That's interesting. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Here, I'll share you my screen so everybody else can see. Let's just see. Okay, this is, I'll just paste in. Let's see what's going on. That's interesting. Looks like it's working.
Okay, let's see if I'll turn it off and try again.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Thanks.
No problem. How do I close this? That's so weird. Why is it not giving me the option to close? Oh, there. Okay. All right. So, yeah, we're nearly finished with Daśa-mūla. I have a question on verse 10. I sent it. Oh, yeah, pretty much I just have a question on verse 10, and then it will be ready. This chapter will be ready for the new edition of Gaudiya Giti Gucha, and I can also share it with anybody who wants it. The way we tried making these translations is to make it really easy to understand the Sanskrit. And so that's why anything that's extra not in the Sanskrit, but it's in the Bengali or Hindi translations, then I put it in parentheses. All right, so Where is the first verse? The introduction verse of Daśa-mūla. Okay, as we've already gone over this so many times, I'll just very briefly. The first line of this verse explains our praman, which is the teachings of the Vedas received through the Guru Parampara, known as Amnaya. So that is our praman. That praman establishes all the rest of this verse, these 9 pramayas. Pramayas mean that which has been proven by the praman. So the first line talks about the praman and also Shri Hari. And the second line talks about the jivas. The third line mentions how everything is one with and separate from Sri Krishna, from Sri Hari, as a manifestation that's both different and non-different from Sri Hari. And then our sadhan is Shuddha Bhakti, and our sadhya is Priti or Prem. That's the full Daśa-mūla. So the first line is Hari, second line is Jiv, third line Achinta Bheda Bheda Prakash, Sadhan Shuddha Bhakti, and then last line has Sadhyam Tat Pritim. Our sadhya is Priti. That's the full verse. Now, how are these first 2 lines broken down? So the 3 points related to Sri Hari is that he is the supreme absolute truth. He is the Parama Tattvam. Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam. And he is Sarva Shaktim. He is the possessor of all potency, Sarva Shakti. And he is a Rasa Abdim. He is a Rasa ocean. He's an ocean of ras. Then the second line related to the jivas says that the jivas are his separated parts. Tad, his bhinna separated anksha, parts, chajivan. And the jivas are swallowed. They are covered by māyā, prakriti. They are covered by prakriti, kavalitan, swallowed by or covered by māyā. Those are the bound jivas. They are prakriti, kavalitan. And the liberated jivas, they are tad vimuktansh. They are from māyā. Tad is referring to māyā. Vimuktam. They are completely completely muktam, completely liberated from māyā. And then sakalam, everything. Now the third line. Sakalam, everything is a prakash, is a manifestation that is bheda, that is different, and abheda, non-different from Sri Hari. Our sadhan is Shuddha Bhakti, our sadhya is Priti. This is how thus instructs Janan to the people by Gaura Chandra, who is Swayam Bhagavan. I think that's what that last line means. Anyhow, so let's recite this verse. It's in the Sragdhara meter. Amnaya prahatatvam harimiha paramam sarva shakting rasabdhim tad bhinnangshangscha jivan prakriti kavalitan tad vimuktangscha bhavad bheda bheda prakasham sakalamapi hare sadhanam shuddha bhakting sadhyam tat pritimevetyupadishati janan Gaura Chandra Swayangsa. All right, so now Haribol Sarveshwari Mataji, Krishna Mai Didi, and Indira Mataji, Haribol. Oh, and just opening up YouTube. Sorry, restream. Yes, Haribol Vidyalala Sadidi. Okay. All right. Oops. Okay. So let's go over these verses briefly. Swata siddho vedo Haridaita Veda Prabhritita Pramanam Sat Praptam Pramiti Vishayantan Navavidan Tata Pratyakshadi Pramiti Sahitang Sadhayatina Na Yuktistarkakya Pravishati Tatha Shakti Rahita. So the Vedas, which are Svata Siddha, they are self-evident. They are by themselves perfect. They aren't created by any human being or anything. They're eternally perfect Vedas. So those Vedas, which are Sat Praptam, which are received in the Sat Sampradaya by recipients of Hari's mercy, Hari Daita, are those who are very dear to Sri Hari, like Brahma, Vedas, Brahma, Prabhritita, and so on. So by recipients of Sri Hari's mercy, such as Brahma, that is what we accept as Praman. That Praman, Sadayati, that Praman establishes, na, for us, that Praman establishes for us, Pramiti Vishayan, the Prameyas. Pramiti Vishayan means the objects of the true knowledge of Praman, of the evidence. So Praman is the evidence. Pramiti is the knowledge of the true knowledge of that evidence, and Vishayan is the object of that knowledge, which is also called Prameya. So that Prameya, so Pramiti Vishayan means Prameyas, in other words. So that those Prameyas are they are of Nava Vidhan. They are of nine, whatever you say, categories, or nine topics. Actually, it means like ninefold, right? Yeah, they are ninefold. And that's, the rest of these is the Prameyas. So also, Tata, also, we accept as Praman, Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means direct perception, Adi, and so on. That are, we take the help of them if they are following the words of the Vedas that are coming in the Sat Sampradaya. Then we also accept that direct perception as evidence. So na yukti, reasoning is yukti. Reasoning that is based on tarka, reasoning called tarka, or tarka means logic and argument. So reasoning that's based on logic and argument, na pravishati, has no entrance. Na pravishati. It cannot enter. It cannot enter these topics of these prameyas because shakti rahita, because they are devoid of any shakti. They're just based on the material brain. You can't conceive of inconceivable subject matters with the material brain. So they're shakti rahita. All right, now the first prameya is Haristvekam Tattvam Vidishiva Suresha Pranamita Yadevedang Brahma Prakriti Rahitang Tattvanumaha Paratma Tasyanksho Jagaranugato Vishvajanaka Savairadha Kanto Navajalada Kantish Chirudaya. Oh, I just realized if I explain all these in detail like that again, it's gonna take up all the time. So I'm just gonna read the translation, not explain the Sanskrit. If anybody's trying to memorize these verses and they want to understand the meaning of all the Sanskrit words, you can look back at the other videos based on these verses. I even put the first words of the verses on the YouTube thumbnail so that you can easily navigate through it, and then I explain all the words. But yeah, now I'm just gonna read the translations quickly. So Sri Hari, who is bowed to by Brahma, Shiva, and Indra, is the sole supreme reality. He is the Paramatattva. Nirvishesh Brahma, which is devoid of energy, is merely his bodily effulgence. Paramatma, who pervades the universe and acts as its creator, is merely his expansion. That Sri Hari, the transcendental reality whose complexion resembles a fresh rain cloud, is the beloved of Sri Radha. Parakhyaya Shaktir Apritakapi Sasve Mahimani Stito Jivakyang Svam Achirabhihitang Tang Tripadikam Swatantre Cha Shaktim Sakala Vishaye Prerana Param Vikara Daishunya Parama Purusho Yang Vijayate. Although non-different from his inconceivable transcendental potency, his parashakti, he has his own independent desires and remains eternally situated in his own glory. He engages the threefold shaktis, the jiva shakti, the marginal potency, the chit shakti, the spiritual potency, and maya shakti, the external potency, in all their respective functions. He remains immutable, even while performing all these activities. May that Supreme Personality be ever victorious. You know, the Bengali translation had it in this order, Jiva Shakti, Chit Shakti, and Maya Shakti. But the Sanskrit here has it, first comes Parashakti, then Jiva Shakti, and then Maya Shakti. So I think I'm going to change that here. I'm just going to make it follow the Sanskrit word order. It makes more sense also to have it in that order. Yeah. Oops. Sorry. Okay. All right. Now, Savaihladinyascha pranaya vikriter hladana tata samvichchakti prakatitaraho bhavarasita tata shi sandhinya krita vishada tad dhama nichaye rasambodho magno vrajarasa vilasi vijayate. The Sarup Shakti has three functions: Ladini, Sandhini, and Samvit. Actually, does that work? Anyways, whatever. Krishna remains perpetually immersed in the delight, in the hladana, of the transformations of love of the pranaya vikar, caused by the Hladini Shakti. Through the confidential bhavs evoked by the Samvit Shakti, he is always relishing ras. He is forever submerged within the ocean of ras and his splendidly pure abodes, headed by Sri Vrindavan, which are manifest through the Sandhini Shakti. May that supremely independent enjoyer of Vraj Ras be ever victorious. Spulingare dagner iva chiranavo jiva nichaya are suryasyaiva pritagapitu tad bheda vishaya vashe maya yasya prakriti patireveshvara iha sajivo muktopi prakriti vashayogya sagunata. Well, I don't know why I couldn't say that all of a sudden. As sparks emerge from a blazing fire, so too do countless atomic conscious jivas emanate as particles in the rays emanating from the spiritual sun, Shri Hari. Although the jivas are qualitatively not separate from Shri Hari, they are also, by nature, separate from him. The eternal difference between the Lord and the jivas is as follows. Ishvar, to whom Māyā is eternally subservient as a maidservant, is the Lord of the material nature. The jivas, however, even when liberated, remain prone to the influence of Māyā due to their constitutional nature. Swarupartarhinan Nija Sukhaparan Krishna Vimukhan Harer māyā dandyan gunanigada jalai kalayati. Tatastu lar lingai divida varanai kleshanikarai. Mahakarmalanar nayati patitan swarga nirayo. The illusory energy ensnares those living entities who are bereft of their true spiritual nature, are absorbed in selfish happiness, averse to Krishna, and subject to punishment with the ropes of the three modes of material nature, sattva, rajas, and tamas. By means of two coverings, the gross and subtle bodies, and the chains of karma, which are filled with various forms of suffering, she drags these fallen jivas sometimes to heaven and sometimes to hell. Yada brahmang harirasa galad vaishnava janang kadachit sangpashyan tadanugamane syad ruchiyuta tada krishna vritya tyajati shanakairmayika dasham sarupang vibrano vimala rasa bhogang sakurute. When, while wandering through various higher and lower species in the material world, a Maya-bound living entity happens to behold a Vaishnav overflowing with Hari Ras, a taste for following that Vaishnav awakens in him. Then by the chanting of Krishna's name, the living entity gradually sheds the influence of Maya. In this way, he progressively attains his true spiritual nature and becomes qualified to relish the immaculate ras of service to Sri Krishna. So this is the verse that we're going over today. Let's just, though, before we do that, let's just look briefly at what we read yesterday. I'm just going to read from this summary. So who is this Maya that the jivas are eternally bound by? Now, this is what was explained in the second half of the previous chapter, which we read yesterday. So Māyā is Krishna's potency by which he creates the mundane universe. He then engages her in purifying the jivas averse to bhakti. Māyā has two aspects. There's pradhan, which is related to inert matter. The mundane world originates from pradhan. And then there's avidya and vidya. That's related to the jivas. Okay, so Māyā has two potent, Māyā has two aspects. Pradhan is related to inert matter. Vidya and avidya is related to the jivas. And so the desire to perform material activities or knowledge related to Bhagavan. Okay, so due to avidya, the jiva's desire to perform material activities. And by vidya, so avidya means ignorance, vidya means true knowledge, then the jivas gain knowledge related to Bhagavan, that's vidya. The bondage of the jiva comes from the function of avidya, and his liberation comes from the function of vidya. When an offensive living entity becomes inclined towards Krishna, the actions of vidya begin in his heart. However, when he becomes averse, the actions of the avidya function take over. And how does Māyā bind the living entities? She has three shackles: goodness, sattva; passion, rajas; and ignorance, tamas. One's made of gold, one is made out of silver, and one is made out of iron. But they still, whether it's gold chains or silver chains or iron chains, they all equally bind the living entity. So, activities the jiva performs in Māyā. So in Māyā, the jivas either they try to attain sense pleasure or they try to mitigate suffering. And then the chapter ended with how there are 5 types of conditioned jivas. Is Achadita Chetana, Sankuchita Chetana, Mukolita Chetana, Vikasita Chetana, and Purna Vikasita Chetana. So what do those mean? So the first one, the first of the five, is Achadita Chetana. That means completely covered consciousness. That refers to the trees, creepers, grass, stone. There's no sentient nature. They have no sentient nature, as they're so engrossed in the material qualities of Maya. Only a slight indication of their sentience through the six transformations, like they take birth, they die, they get diseased. They have those six transformations. So we can tell that there's some, there's sentience there, very slight degree. And then there's so that's completely covered consciousness. Now there's Sankuchita Chetana. That means shrunken or contracted consciousness. That refers to beasts, birds, snakes, fish, aquatics, mosquitoes, etc. Within these Sankuchita Chetana living entities, the consciousness is apparent to some degree, like there's eating, sleeping, free movement, quarreling over what they consider to be their own property. They show fear and become angry when they see injustice. But there's no knowledge of the spiritual world, no propensity to inquire about Bhagavan. Now they're the living entities that are mukalita chetana. That means that have slightly budding consciousness. Slightly budding consciousness. That refers to conditioned jivas with human bodies, like immoral atheists or moral atheists. So the atheists, they all have mukalita chetana, slightly budding consciousness. And then there's vikasita chetana. There are those humans with developed consciousness. Those are moral theists and sadhan bhaktas, devotees following sadhan bhakti. And then finally, there is purna vikasita chetan. That means fully developed consciousness. That refers to devotees on the stage of bhav, those who have the first sprout of love of God, of prem, bhav bhaktas. They have purna vikasita chetana, fully developed consciousness. So and that's how the chapter ended yesterday. But now we're going to, this chapter 17 continues with the whole saga, the whole drama going on in Vajranath's life. But maybe we should just get a recap of that, just so that we know the story. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to get the flow of the story. Day by day, okay, so this is from chapter 14. Day by day, Vajranath's moods were changing. This very much alarmed his family members, and his paternal grandmother decided to get him married as soon as possible. She started looking for a suitable match, but Vajranath always stayed aloof from these matters and did not heed the conversations regarding marriage. Rather, he remained constantly absorbed in contemplating the various tattvas that he heard from Babaji Maharaj. He was naturally drawn to Babaji Maharaj and Srivas Angan, for he wanted to realize those tattvas he had heard, and was greedy to hear ever new nectarian teachings. Okay, and so then, in chapter 15, we hear about the beautiful attraction that he had to Babaji Maharaj. And then chapter 16, having heard the illuminating description of Jiva Tattva in Daśa-mūla, Vajranath returned home. Lying on his bed, he was unable to sleep, and he began to reflect deeply. I have received an answer to the question, who am I? Now I can understand myself to be simply an atom of light in the effulgent rays of the spiritual sun, Sri Krishna. Although atomic by nature, I have my own inherent value, purpose, knowledge, and a drop of spiritual bliss, Bindu Chidgata Ananda. My Swarup is a spiritual particle, Chitkana. Even though that form is atomic, it is like Sri Krishna's human-like form. Now I cannot see this form, and this is my misfortune. Only an extremely fortunate soul can realize it. It is important that I understand clearly why I suffer in this unfortunate condition. Tomorrow I will inquire about this from Sri Gurudev. Thinking like this, he finally fell asleep at around midnight. Before dawn, he dreamt that he had left his family and accepted Vaishnav dress. When he awoke, he joyfully thought, "It appears that Krishna will soon pull me out of this sangsar." The next morning, while he was sitting on a porch, some students approached him, offering their respects. They said, "For a long time, you have taught us very nicely." Then I'm just skipping around. With great humility, Vrajanath replied, "My dear brothers, I'm unable to teach you anymore, for I cannot fix my mind on teaching at all. I've decided to take another path. Under these circumstances, I suggest that you study under the guidance of some other teacher." Okay, so the students were unhappy. Gradually, one by one, they began to leave. Then about at that time, Shri Chaturbhuj Mishra Ghatak came to the house to present a proposal to Vrajanath's paternal grandmother for his marriage. He said, "I am sure you know Vijayanath Bhattacharya. His family is good and quite well off. Thus it will be a suitable match for you. Most importantly, this girl is as qualified as she is beautiful." On his side, Bhattacharya will make no conditions regarding the marriage of his daughter with Vrajanath. He is ready to marry her in whichever way you desire. Hearing this proposal, Vrajanath's grandmother became exhilarated. But Vrajanath felt dissatisfied within his heart. Alas, he thought, "My grandmother is arranging my marriage while I'm planning to leave my family in the world. How can I feel happy to discuss marriage at this time?" Later, there was an intense struggle of arguments and counter-arguments in their home regarding marriage. Vrajanath's mother, grandmother, and the other elderly ladies were on one side, while on the other, completely alone, was Vrajanath. The ladies insisted in various ways that Vrajanath should get married, but he did not agree. The discussion continued the entire day. Around evening time, it began to rain heavily and kept pouring throughout the night so that Vrajanath could not go to Mayapur. The next day, because of the heated arguments about marriage, he could not even eat his meals properly. In the evening, he went to Babaji's cottage. He paid obeisances and sat down close to Babaji, who said, "Yesterday night, it was raining quite heavily. That's probably why you couldn't come. Seeing you today gives me much happiness." Vrajanath said, "Prabhu, I'm facing a problem, which I'll tell you about later. First, please explain to me, if the jiva is a pure spiritual entity, how did he become entangled in this miserable world?" And now we come to, and so then he explains everything that we went through the recap already, about how the jivas are conditioned in this world. Now we come to chapter 17, Prameya, jivas free from māyā. Vrajanath's grandmother, okay, so now we're starting to read, or it's already 7:40. Wow. Anyhow, yeah, I always like to get the flow nicely. So, okay, we'll read for 20 minutes and then we'll stop. Vrajanath's grandmother completed all the arrangements for his marriage, and in the evening, she explained everything to him. Vrajanath simply took his meal in silence and made no reply that day. He lay awake on his bed late that night, deep in thought about the state of the pure spirit soul. Meanwhile, his elderly grandmother was busy trying to find ways of convincing him to agree to the marriage. Just then, Vrajanath's maternal cousin, Vaini Madhav, arrived. The girl that Vrajanath was supposed to marry was Vaini Madhav's paternal cousin, and Vijay Vidyaratna had sent him to finalize the arrangements. Vaini Madhav inquired, What's the matter, grandmother? Why are you delaying in arranging brother Vraja's marriage?" The grandmother replied in a rather anxious voice, "My son, you are an intelligent boy. Perhaps he'll change his mind if you speak to him. All my efforts have been in vain." Vaini Madhav's character was clearly proclaimed by his short stature, small neck, black complexion, and his eyes, which blinked frequently. His eyes blinked frequently. He liked to pry into everything that was going on, rather than taking care of his own business. But his involvement in others' affairs was never particularly useful. After listening to the old lady, he frowned slightly and then boasted, "This is no problem. I just need your permission. Vaini Madhav can accomplish anything. You know me quite well. I can make money just by counting the waves. Let me discuss this with him just once, and if I succeed, then you'll treat me to a nice feast with puris and kachoris. All right. And there's a footnote here. I can make money just by counting the waves. There's a footnote that says, this is a commentary in the form of footnotes by my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami. There's a saying, to make money by counting the waves. The explanation is as follows. In ancient times, there was a rich Vaishya who became famous all over the country as someone who could make money in any circumstances. Some envious people poisoned the ears of the local king and managed to convince him to send the businessman far away, where he would have no opportunity to make any money. The king decided to send him to a lonely place near the sea. But this Vaishya, true to his character, sat on the beach counting the waves. Whenever a vessel passed across the sea, he would stop it by waving his arms and then say, "You are not allowed to cross. The king has appointed me to count the waves here, and your vessel is disturbing them." He would argue back and forth and only relent when he had extracted a bribe. In this way, he became a rich man again. Okay. So Veni Madhav said, I can make money just by counting the waves. Let me discuss this just once. Then you'll treat me to a nice feast with puris and kachoris. Then his grandmother said, Vrajanath has taken his meal and he's asleep now, said grandmother. All right, I'll come in the morning and put things in order, replied Veni Madhav, and then he returned home. The next day Veni Madhav returned early in the morning, carrying a lota in his hand, and he completed his morning ablutions. Oh wait, is this referring to Vrajanath? I don't know, I think it's Veni Madhav. So when Vrajanath saw him, he was a little surprised and said, Brother, how have you come so early in the morning? Veni Madhav answered, Dada, you have been studying and teaching Nyaya Shastra for a long time now. You are the son of Pandit Harinath Chudamani, and you have become famous all over the country. You are the only surviving male member of the house. And if you don't have any heirs, who do you suppose will take care of this big house of yours? Brother, we have a request. Please get married. Vrajanath replied, Brother, don't give me unnecessary trouble. Nowadays, I am accepting the shelter of Sri Gaurasundar's bhaktas, and I don't have any desire to get involved in worldly affairs. I feel real peace in the company of the Vaishnavas in Mayapur, and I don't find any attraction for this world. I will either accept sannyas or spend my life in the shelter of the Vaishnavas' lotus feet. I have expressed my heart to you because I know that you are my close friend. But don't disclose this to anyone else. My God, Vrajanath is way too trusting. Anyhow, okay. So then Veni Madhav understood that nothing but trickery could change Vrajanath's mind. So he cleverly curbed his feelings, and in order to create a particular impression, he said, I have always remained your assistant in whatever you have done. I used to carry your books when you were studying in the Sanskrit school, so I will carry your staff and water pot when you accept sannyas. Yeah, right. It is difficult to understand the minds of wicked people. They have two tongues, and they say one thing with one and exactly the opposite with the other. They are bandits in the garb of saints, carrying the name of Sri Ram in the mouth and a knife under their armpit. Vrajanath was a simple person. Warming to Veni Madhav's sweet words, he said, Brother, I have always regarded you as my dear friend. Grandmother is just an old woman, and she doesn't understand serious matters. She is very enthusiastic to drown me in the ocean of worldly affairs by getting me married to some girl. It will be a relief if you can change her mind and somehow dissuade her. I will always be indebted to you. Veni Madhav replied, No one will dare to oppose your desire as long as Sharma Ram is living. Dada, you will see what I am capable of. But just let me know one thing. Why have you developed such hatred towards this world? Who is advising you to cultivate such feelings of renunciation? Rajanath explained about his renunciation and said, "There is one elderly and experienced Babaji called Raghunath Das Babaji in Mayapur. He is my instructor, and I go every day after dusk to the shelter of his feet to find relief from the burning fire of this material world. He is very merciful to me." The evil Vaini Madhav started thinking, now I understand Brother Vraja's weakness. He has to be brought back to the right track by deception, force, or skill. Outwardly, he said, "Brother, don't worry. I am going home now, but I will gradually change grandmother's mind." Vaini Madhav pretended to take the road that led to his home, but instead he took another way and reached Srivas Angan in Mayapur. There he sat on the raised platform under the bakula tree and began to admire the opulences of the Vaishnavas. These Vaishnavas are actually enjoying the world. They have such beautiful houses and lovely kunjas. This is such a nice dayas and a wonderful courtyard. In each of the kutirs, a Vaishnav sat chanting Harinam on his beads. They seemed quite content, like the bowls of religion. The women of the neighboring villages who came to bathe in the Ganga of their own accord supplied the Vaishnavas with fruits, vegetables, water, and various eatables. Vaini Madhav thought, the Brahmins have systematized karma kanda to receive these facilities, but instead these groups of Babajis are enjoying the cream. Oh, glories to Kali Yuga! These disciples of Kali are having a wonderful time. Oh, my birth in a high Brahmin family is useless. No one even cares about us anymore. What to speak of offering us fruits and water? These Vaishnavas even condemn learned Brahmins. And they abuse and insult us by calling us lowly and foolish. Brother Vraja fits this description quite well, though. Although he's such a well-educated man, he seems to have sold himself to these sly loincloth people. I, Vaini Madhav, will reform Vrajanath and these Babajis as well. Thinking like this, Vaini Madhav entered one of the kutirs, which happened to be the one in which Sri Raghunath Das Babaji was sitting on a mat made of banana leaves, chanting his Harinam. A person's character is evident from his face, and the aging Babaji could understand that Kali personified had entered in the form of this son of a Brahmin. Vaishnavas consider themselves lower than a blade of grass. They offer respect to those who insult them, and they pray for the well-being of an opponent, even if he tortures them. Accordingly, Babaji Maharaj respectfully offered Vaini Madhav a seat. Vaini Madhav had no Vaishnav qualities at all. So after sitting down, he offered his blessings to Babaji Maharaj, considering himself above all Vaishnav etiquette. My God. Okay. Baba, what is your name? And Vaini Madhav's how old is Vrajanath was like 21 years old or something like that. And Vaini Madhav is calling him Dada, older brother. So Vaini Madhav's even younger than him. But he was offering blessings to Babaji Maharaj. So then, so Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj said, Baba, what is your name? What brings you here? Inquired Babaji Mahashai informally. Vaini Madhav became furious by being addressed informally. And he said angrily, Oh, Babaji, can you become an equal to the Brahmins just by wearing a kopan, by wearing a loincloth? Never mind. Just tell me, do you know Vrajanath Nyaya Panchanana? Babaji, understanding the reason for his annoyance, he said, Please excuse this old man. Don't become offended by my words. Yes, Vrajanath comes here sometimes, by his own mercy. Vaini Madhav. Don't think that he's a simpleton. He comes here with ulterior motives. He is being polite at first to gain your confidence. The Brahmins of Belpukar are extremely annoyed at your behavior, and they have consulted with each other and decided to send Vrajanath to you. You are an old man. Just be careful. I will keep coming from time to time to inform you how their conspiracy progresses. Don't tell him about me. Otherwise, you will run into even deeper trouble. I will take leave for today. So saying, Vaini Madhav got up and returned to his home. Later that afternoon, while Vrajanath sat on the veranda after his meal, Vaini Madhav suddenly appeared, as if from nowhere, sat next to him, and struck up a conversation. Brother, I went to Mayapur for some business today, he began. There I saw an old man, maybe Raghunath Das Babaji. We were talking about things in general, and then the conversation turned to you. The things he said about you. I've never heard such repulsive things being spoken about any Brahman. And in the end, he said, I will bring him down from his high Brahminical status by feeding him leftovers from many low-class people. Fie on him! It is not proper for a learned man like you to associate with such a person. You will ruin the high prestige of the Brahmins if you act like this. Rajanath was astounded to hear Veni Madhav say all this. For some unknown reason, his faith and respect for the Vaishnavas and old Babaji Maharaj only doubled, and he said gravely, Brother, I am busy at present. You go now. I will hear everything from you tomorrow and make a decision then. Veni Madhav went away. Rajanath now became fully aware of Veni Madhav's two-tongued nature. He was well versed in the Nyaya Shastra, and although he had a natural dislike for wickedness, the thought that Veni Madhav would help him on the path to sannyas had induced Rajanath to be friendly towards him. Now, however, he understood that all Veni Madhav's sweet words had been for a particular motive. After further thought, Rajanath realized that Veni Madhav was acting deceitfully because he was involved in the marriage proposal. That must be why he had gone to Mayapur, to sow the seed of some secret plot. He prayed in his mind, O Bhagavan, let my faith in the lotus feet of my Gurudev and the Vaishnavas remain firm. May it never be reduced by the disturbance of such impure people. He remained absorbed in these thoughts until evening. Then he started out for Srivas Angan, arriving there deep in anxiety. Back in Mayapur, after Veni Madhav had left, Babaji thought, this man is certainly a Brahman Rakshasa. Rakshasa kalam ashritya jayante brahmayonishu. Taking shelter of Kali Yuga, Rakshasas take birth in Brahman families. This statement of Shastra certainly holds true for that person. His face clearly shows his pride in his high caste, his false ego, his envy of Vaishnavas, and his religious hypocrisy. His short neck, his eyes, and his deceptive way of talking actually represent his internal state of mind. This man is a complete asura by nature, whereas Rajanath is such a sweet-natured person. O Krishna, O Gauranga, never give me association of such a person. I must warn Rajanath today. As soon as Rajanath reached the kutir, Babaji called out to him affectionately, Come, Baba, come, and embraced him. Rajanath's throat choked with emotion, and tears started flowing from his eyes as he fell down at Babaji's feet. Babaji picked him up very affectionately and said gently, A black-complexioned Brahmin came here this morning. He said some agitating things and then went away. Do you know him? Rajanath. Prabhu, your good self told me earlier that there are different kinds of jivas in this world. Some of them are so envious that without any cause they find satisfaction in troubling other jivas. Our brother Veni Madhav is one of the leaders in that category. I will be glad if we don't discuss him further. It is his very nature to criticize you to me and me to you, and to cause disputes between us by manufacturing false accusations. I hope you didn't pay any attention to what he said. Babaji. Ha Krishna, ha Gauranga, I have been serving the Vaishnavas for many days now, and by their mercy, I have received the power to tell the difference between a Vaishnav and a non-Vaishnav. You don't need to say anything to me about this. Rajanath, please forget all this and tell me how a jiva can become free from the clutches of māyā. Babaji, you will get your answer in the 7th shloka of Daśa-mūla. And we already read the translation for this once. And yeah, now we'll read it again. We'll go through it again. Oh, and Haribol Puleshwari Didi. Sorry, I didn't notice you before. Haribol. Okay. So we'll recite the Sanskrit. Yada Brahmang Brahmang Harirasa Galar Vaishnava Janam Kadachit Sangpashyan Taranugamane Syad Ruchiyuta Tada Krishna Vritya Tyajati Shanakar Mayika Dasham Sarupam Vibhrano Vimala Rasa Bhogang Sakurute. Okay, let's read the translation here first, and then we'll look at my translation again. When, in the course of wandering amongst the higher and lower species in the material world, a jiva is able to behold a Vaishnava absorbed in the flowing ras of Sri Hari Bhakti, taste arises in his heart for following the Vaishnava way of life. By chanting Sri Krishna Nam, he gradually becomes free from his conditioning. Step by step, he then gains his intrinsic Chinmaya Swarup, his transcendental form, and becomes qualified to taste the pure and spiritual ras of direct service to Sri Krishna. I love how all the verses of Daśa-mūla tie in so nicely with the story of Rajanath's life. Like everything's just coming at the most appropriate times for him. So let's see if I can figure. When I worked on the translation, I understood all the Sanskrit words, but now, after not looking at it for a while, I have to be reminded. But yada means when, and then brahmang means wandering and wandering. So while wandering, and this isn't in the Sanskrit, but through various higher and lower species in the material world. One second. A māyā bound living entity. A māyā bound living entity. I think that's, where is māyā bound living entity? I think that might be here, Mayika Dasham, who is in the condition of Mayika Dasham. I'm guessing, yeah. I could be saying something wrong though. Anyhow, a māyā bound living entity happens to behold a Vaishnav overflowing with Hari Ras. So Hari Rasa Galar Vaishnava Janam. Vaishnav Janan means a Vaishnav person, so a Vaishnav who is Galar, who is melting. Galar means to melt with Hari Ras. Kadachit, at some point, by chance, or at some point, he will sampashyam. That living entity who is Brahman, who's been wandering through various higher, lower species of life, that jiva will sampashyan. He will have darshan. He will behold a Vaishnav. And then, wait, it says tad anugamane. Oh, did I miss that? No. Then a taste, ruchi, with, yuta means with. So with ruchi, syad, will arise, I guess? I don't know. To follow that Vaishnav. Tad refers to that Vaishnav, and anugamani means to follow. So a taste for following that Vaishnav will arise within him. Tada, then, here there's this word, the verse starts with the word when, and then the second half says then. Yada, tada. When, then. So then, Krishna Vritya, that means, Vritya means by chanting Krishna, by uttering the name of Krishna. Tyajati means he gives up. Shanakar, I don't know what Shanakar means. Let me just look at it. Let's see if we can guess. I'm guessing it means influence. No. I don't know. Tyajati means he gives up or he sheds the influence of Maya. Mayak Dasham. Dasha means condition, and Mayak means of Maya. This Maya conditioning. And Sarupam. In this way, he progressively attains his true nature, his true spiritual nature, his swarup, vibrano. Don't know what vibrano means. And he becomes qualified to taste, to relish vimala rasa bhogam. Bhogam means to partake of, to relish vimala ras, completely pure. Vimala. Mala means impurities and V means without. So, in other words, this spotless ras, this immaculate, pure ras, sakurute. I guess vibrana sakurute, I guess vibrana goes with kurute, I don't know. I have to look up the word vibrano. But anyways, it's already 8 o'clock, is it? Oh yeah, it's 8:02, so we'll end here. So then Rajanath says, I would like to hear some evidence from the Vedas to verify this. And so we'll go through this verse more thoroughly and hear Raghunath Das Babaji's explanation of it tomorrow. All right, so that's our program for today. Hare Krishna, Hare. I keep on doing that melody. It's just the first melody that keeps on popping up in my head. Let's do a different one. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Swaparsha Ji Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Jai Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Jaiva-dharma Ki Jai, Jai Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Vrajanath Ki Jai, and soon we'll see Vijay Kumar Ki Jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavascha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Satyavatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, Nari Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Pradumna Prabhu, Mantarmurti Mataji, Sarveshwari Mataji, Krishna Mai Didi, Indira Mataji, Nitai Mukesh Ji, and let's see, Ganga Mataji, Vidyalalasa Didi, Fuleshwari Didi, and I see there are a bunch of other devotees. If you write a comment, I'll see your name, but Dandavat pranams, whoever you are, and also pranams to everybody watching in the future. So I'll see you all tomorrow to hear about how the jivas are liberated from Māyā. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before I end today's stream? All right, see you tomorrow. Jai Shri Ram.